Oscars SlapGate with Will Smith and Chris Rock. And opening day, Looms, Diamond Diehards is on. Joe Rizzo here, bringing you baseball along with the dog, Jeff Healy. And back to the old format. We're not together in person like last time. So if you missed that, go to the Facebook group, the Facebook page, or YouTube to check out the video. Go to Spotify or Apple Podcasts or any of your podcast apps to check the audio, because that was our most recent show. The dog and I did get together in person. We will be doing that more in the future, but for now, a Tuesday night live for you on the interwebs. And we are glad to bring it to you, brought to you by FMSgraphics.com, a family-run, family-owned business for the last 50 years. You can get all your printing and promotional needs taken care of via FMS.com with one click. So go there right now and get your printing and promotional needs taken care of by a good business, FMSgraphics.com. The weather's getting nice. That means you need to keep your ride clean and sparkling. And the best place to do that, if you're in the Bergen and Passaic County areas in New Jersey, which, by the way, based on our analytics and metrics, a lot of you watching and listening are, you need to go to Big Ed's Car Wash in Fair Lawn, New Jersey. Big Ed has a 118-foot tunnel, and your car will come out sparklingly clean and beautiful in there. And the thing is, from my own personal experience, it stays cleaner longer. Big Ed's Car Wash, Fair Lawn, New Jersey, if you're in the Bergen and Passaic County areas. What we like to do on this show is help you to get the information you need to interact with us, and that is on social media everywhere at Diamond Diehards, and that's usually me behind the Twitter over there. And if you're on the Facebook group, you're already there, but we'd like you to hit that, follow or subscribe button and be part of the group, and you'll get alerts when we're coming on. YouTube as well. Check us out there and all your podcasting apps. But we want you to join in and interact with us, because that makes the experience a little more great. And if you want to follow the dog on Twitter, it's at Jeff Healy8. That's the number 8. Usually we do 2 segments in our show. One at the beginning, one at the end, and then all the juicy stuff in the middle. At the end, we tend to do something called Die Hard Dads, which we will probably do later. And in the beginning, we usually kick it off with Veteran of the Day. And today being National Vietnam Veterans Day, Dog has a very special one to bring to you. Dog?
Thanks, Riz. Yes, this is always a touching one here. Our veteran of the day is Specialist Alfred Lallave from the Bronx, New York. He served with honor with the 4th Infantry Division, died from wounds suffered from hostile small arms fire while defending Hill 947, which is about 100 miles or so south of Da Nang in the Central Highlands of Vietnam. His awards included the Combat Infantryman Badge and the Purple Heart. Again, with those unusual, the day he died was March 5th, 1969, which actually was my mom's birthday. He was actually born June 15th, 1943, which is my father's birthday. So kind of a currently weird tie in there. And obviously, Bronx, we have that sort of shared history being in Bronx there as well. So he was a typical light infantry guy, was drafted, made his way up to Specialist 4. So obviously served with distinction, got good conduct medal, Combat Infantryman Badge as well. And then unfortunately got the Purple Heart due to the wounds that he received while defending the hill there. So very touching. And do a quick shout out to the site we actually were able to find some information on, which was great, called honorstates.org. And it looks like you can go and look up people who veterans who had passed, died defending the country. So give that a check and go click that around. A lot of really touching stories to see within there, and it's a great way to help remember folks and make it more than just a name on the wall.
And that name is on the wall. And
Correct.
I do have a picture of my friend who submitted that, Tim Pagan, of Tim, that was his uncle, at the wall with his picture. You take the pictures at the wall in the Vietnam Memorial, and you can go there and you can etch the name on paper, but you also have it's reflective in a way, so you could get your uh, your likeness or whatever your reflection in the picture of the name. So we've discussed that a little bit, and yeah, it's listen, National Vietnam Veterans Day, so that's turned out to be a pretty apropos one for us to do. We like to
Yeah,
always.
it's I would say, interesting. I mean, he's 25, which is pretty up there actually for Vietnam veterans. He was 25 when he died, which is a little older than your typical guy in Vietnam, obviously due to the heavy use of draftees at that point. One thing I always said repeatedly on the show and kind of everywhere else too, that as a veteran of a later war, I mean, in my case, Iraq, um, I always tried to impress to our guys how much we owed to the Vietnam veterans and the rough time they had and the rough treatment that they got from the public when they came back, and was really a complete boomerang for when we served. I mean, Gulf War kind of changed things too. First Gulf War, I guess, um, and then it was almost over the top for Operation Iraqi Freedom vets like myself and some of the Enduring Freedom vets as well. And really, the great treatment we received from the American public, to me, was in large account due to I think a little public shame of the way the Vietnam veterans were treated. And I think enough people came back and realized that that wasn't right. And people vowed not to let that happen again. And that's sort of an ongoing mission, I would say, to all of our veterans out there, is that it's kind of our job now to help keep in the public awareness of the sacrifices that our servicemen and women do when they go down, when they serve anywhere, and when they go downrange in particular, and to make sure that the public treats them right when they come back. That's
It, it,
that's my soapbox for today.
but it's important because that's at some point the tide has to turn for these things. When you look back in terms of history, like where you're at today, but how you got there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that clearly was, a huge issue in America because there was so much um, apathy toward the war. I mean, apathy is probably not even
Hatred.
a strong,
let's,
not even a
let's be
strong enough
honest.
word. I mean,
Hatred.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
it was actually hatred. But like
Yeah.
the
Not at first though.
problem the problem was that it was taken out on the soldiers. Most of whom really just didn't want to be there, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And that injustice was a real black mark on American history and certainly like on American military history, right? Like if you want to be more specific to it.
Yeah.
And that's just not the way it's received today. I think there's more information out there and people understand like, okay, if you join the military, you're pledged to the military, um, they're not blaming the soldiers, the men and women who are going over to places to fight for what the administrations are doing in terms of policy. So that's a huge difference. And when you think about it, right, like we have come a long way as a country in terms of that right now.
Yep.
Um, because that didn't take a lot of time, and it was a very, very, very big turnaround. Support our troops. Could you imagine, like, if you told in 1972, somebody just coming back from Vietnam who's being, shat upon, that, you would go to the deli one day and some random person would just thank you for your service. They'd be like, "Yeah, what country is that? Not this country." Right? And it's
Yep.
okay, we're within a 50-year window of that. But yeah, look, it's better that it's turned around this way. And we see these conflicts going on in Ukraine, Russia, whatever. And there we go. Not talking about sports or SlapGate or baseball or anything like that. We're talking about um, military stuff, which we do get into from time to time. So hopefully you're not too put off by that as we kick off the show, doing our thing that way a little bit. Um, it, we're approaching opening day, dog, and I gotta tell you, I'm really just I'm not looking too much at like the early stats from spring training. I'm just kind of going by feel, and I like to look at the Vegas stuff. Whether just because I say I'm looking at it doesn't mean like I'm putting dollars down on like every single one of these opinions. But what I like to do is I like to see what my own opinion says, and then I like to see what Vegas says. And, sometimes when the two things meet, that's been a way in the past that I've kind of been able to get a good grip on, you know, what I think might be an unpopular-ish opinion that might turn out with some good results. And I gotta say, dog, the team that keeps popping up in my head is the Angels. I just feel like the Angels are kind of getting swept under the rug. That everybody's assumption is that they're just going to be the Angels again because they're always the Angels, and what did they do? But like they have the reigning MVP. He's a pitcher and a hitter. Now, when Otani pitches, he's allowed to DH and not come out of the game as a DH when he's also the pitcher, which I think is a pretty good rule. I'm not sure. Like, I'm okay with that rule now that they've scrapped the DH in the National League, which I was against. Um, so I'm kind of like, okay, it sort of does make more sense that he's allowed to appear independently as a designated hitter and be a pitcher. So I kind of like that part. But like, you're getting Mike Trout back, and he hasn't played that much over a couple of years. So some of that wear and tear that might have starting, that was maybe running up on Trout. He's got the injuries, but he sort of has like less mileage from not having to play a couple of full seasons here back to back. So I expect a really good Trout this year. I expect um, improved pitching because there's kind of only one way to go for their pitching. But I think it helps them manage Otani a little bit better with the way things are.
Yeah, you got Syndergaard on a 1 year prove it, right? Which is a
Yeah.
great spot to be. I mean, he came back strong at the very, very end of the season on there. He's got a lot to prove. He's the kind of guy who does want to go out and prove it. So I think that's a sneaky little time in there for the Angels.
But I have a good feeling about the team and at least about the organization, save for like, the stuff that people will talk about with like, their owner and blah blah blah. Like that, look, players are playing, you know. They're not they're not worried on a daily basis like who the owner is, Like I guess maybe to some certain degree, but like all that
Unless
stuff
it's the
is
Wilpons.
yeah, but even that, I mean, it's just it could be pretty overrated to me,
I
that
agree.
part of it.
Yeah.
So, players just play. Like they're just worried about going out there and winning games. And Anaheim is look, I mean, look at the division that they're in, right? Like that's the first thing that you really have to look at. And then you look at um, who the competition is. And I'm trying to pull up. I want to see if I could maybe I could pull up some stats here. I'm not going to do that yet. I don't want to be biased about it. So if you look at the division, right?
Mhm.
You have the Astros, and they've continued to be strong. But that was a 95 win Astro team last year that just nudged ahead right at the end of the season. And they had a lot of question marks, and they kind of needed like everything to sort of break right at the end and to make their playoff run, which they did, and they have a lot of experience. But you just took Carlos freaking Correa out of the middle of the lineup. And okay, for whatever pitching you lose, you get back Justin Verlander. But Justin Verlander's what, 39, coming off Tommy John surgery, right? Was it Tommy? Yeah, Tommy John. Tommy John.
Think so. Yeah.
So you don't know like if he's going to be just. I mean, we just figure he's going to come back and be Justin Verlander, but he might not be Justin Verlander.
Yeah.
So is that a 95 win team again? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no. The Mariners overachieved to get to 90 and 72. Their run differential was minus 51, and they played 18 games over 500. That's got to be one of the best statistical anomalies of like the 21st century, right? Over 21 years of data. That's got to be one of, if not the best overperformance of wins versus run differential, right?
Absolutely.
So you figure that they might regress a little bit toward the mean, but that is definitely a team on the come. So are they going to win 90 again? I mean, yeah, they might be in that range, but they're going to need a lot of things to. They're going to need to actually make a lot of improvement because they're not going to go 51 runs under, the breaking point, and go 18 games over 500 again. That I will bet all day, every day, and twice on Sunday. I'll take your money and bet that.
Yes.
The A's were 86 and 76 last year. They just had a fire sale. They're getting nowhere near 500 this year. Unless they become the Rays. And they're not becoming the Rays. So the A's are going to fall off the table. Texas was 60 and 102. I think they're on the come.
Yep.
But they still, okay, let's say they could just even get to 500. Then the division is still not nearly as good as it was last year. And the Angels were 77 and 85 with Ohtani and a bunch of spare parts and, no Rendon and no Trout, basically, with a lot of improvement. So I see a window there for Anaheim, dog. I really do. And I think if they don't need a whole lot, they need a few things to break right. They certainly do. Every baseball team does. But I just see that where I'm like, I bet them to, did I bet them to win the World Series? I bet them to make the World Series. Because their odds are huge. I have to bet like practically nothing to make a few bucks. I'm not betting like big. I'm talking like dollar-ish kind of, like long, crazy odds kind of bets. But I think they're worth it. I think they're worth a shot. Like you look at the landscape there, and it's pretty ripe, and nobody is talking about them. How could nobody be talking about a team that has an MVP currently and the perennial MVP who's still in his prime window? And let's face it, even if Trout regresses off of the early part of his career, he could regress for 5 years and still be a top 10 player in the league.
Yeah, I mean, plus, look at Ohtani in Thor in a short series.
Right? That's a great point.
That's a whole different dynamic for that team.
It is. Are there questions? Of course there are questions. Yeah. But they spent, $93 million on their bullpen, right?
Plus they're like, what? Why do we even have the DH? How about we go out the DH?
Yeah.
Those two guys out there.
I mean, it's like, I feel like, let's see if I could go to their depth chart here.
It's funny. I love looking at Pacoda because it always says the Mets are going to do well, and they never do. So, so I'm pulling up on there. So it has the Angels at 88 wins for the Pacoda.
It does.
Fortunately, predictive factor seems low. Honestly, that's probably the only argument against your argument.
Okay, so the things that have to break right are Ohtani and Syndergaard on the mound at the front end, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you need between those two guys, you need 60 starts, right? So if Ohtani makes 33, then Thor could give you a little drop off to 27. Anything past that is probably gravy.
Yeah.
58 to 60 starts, right? Then there's questions. Is Michael Lorenzen, he's a boomer bust guy, kind of. Jaime Barria, he's showed signs. Reed Detmers could be good. Jose Suarez and Patrick Sandoval, there's questions there. But guess what? 7 teams make the wait, is it's 6 teams rather. 6 teams make the
Yes.
playoffs, right? 6 teams make the playoffs. That's in baseball that becomes a much bigger percentage than what we're used to except for the truncated 2019 season. So there's a little room for that. And like we talked about, they added a lot to the bullpen. And, they bring back Rizzo Iglesias. Archie Bradley's there. Ryan Tepera, who was, I think, an all-star last year. And, he was horrible after the trade to the White Sox from the Cubs. But he's should still be pretty good. So the thing is, dog, 6 teams make the playoffs. That's the kind of team that could make it in the 6th spot,
Yep.
and like all of a sudden they could bash your brains in for 3 games and steal a series like that without having the starting pitching and maybe throwing together the bullpen. The other thing is if they're in contention, they're a team that could go out and make a deal, right? Like they could add some people. They used every single one of their draft picks last season on pitchers, all 20 rounds, a pitcher every single round. So what does that mean? They might not have had a lot of arms in the system beforehand, but they just added a hell of a lot. And that could be those are the kind of guys that teams are going to want. Hey, this guy's having a good season in Class A. We picked him in the 11th round last season. Send him. We'll send him and another guy to you for blah blah blah. Some
Yep.
pitcher, John Means, right? I mean,
Hmm.
and all of a sudden you got John Means at the back of your rotation, or in the middle of your rotation, or at the front, or whatever. You have somebody to throw out there in a playoff type scenario. And around the diamond, Jared Walsh emerged at first. Uh, they went and got a Tyler Wade, he's like a winning type player from the Yankees. He can play everywhere, gives you a lot of speed off the bench. Is he going to grab a starting spot? I mean, he'll probably play a fair amount, but um, he might be able to play second base. It depends what you're going to do at short. If you're going to play David Fletcher there, or you're going to try to do something else. But Fletcher and Wade up the middle, these are like high contact guys, good speed, put the ball in play guys. If Anthony Rendon comes back at third, again, question marks. They need some things to break right. But then you get to the outfield and you have Trout and Justin Upton still there, Joe Adell, who's been a huge prospect, and Brandon Marsh, who they're talking about might even already start to push Trout out of center and to one of the corners, which I'll wait and see on that. But either way, like they have some good established people out there, and of course you have Otani DHing. So they have a lot of balance. I mean, that lineup's lethal, but dog, it's the thing that really gets me is that division. There's just not that much there for them to overcome. And I think they're a great sleeper. So that's how we've started it here. We're in Southern California and we're talking about the Angels. So if you're on Angel baseball, this is your show tonight. We've done the Twins. We've been the official show of the Twins. Sometimes the Cardinals, the Angels, the Brewers. So we do get to the other teams.
There you go.
We do. You see. So am I crazy? And Mets, Canada. I have Canada tonight.
Canada. Great shirt. Great
Yeah,
jersey.
whatever. There might be some hockey going on tonight too. That I'm interested in. So, Dog, tell me, am I crazy about this, or is it too
No, I
much
think
of a
I think you
stretch?
have it spot on, right? I mean, that division is due for a pullback. And the Angels certainly have the talent to be right within the mix there. And sort of like a high 80s, low 90s. Really feels like that's achievable for them, and that could be enough to get it done for those guys.
And then, like you said, if they get into a series, if they have the bullpen and the hitting, and then they get a little bit of starting pitching, who
Yeah.
knows what's
I mean, you
going
pick
to
up a
happen?
third guy, right? You put a third guy in the mix there.
Yeah,
That's I wouldn't want to face that in the first round.
I wouldn't either because that's the kind of offense where, say even if you're looking for 5 innings out of your starter, I mean, they could take a good pitcher and put you behind 3-0 in 2 innings, right? It's hard. Those playoff games can be hard to play from behind.
Yeah.
They might all be on the road, but I don't know.
Well, I mean, how about division? Division winner? I guess what, fourth division winner would still be. I guess I got to check out the new playoff rules. I
Yeah,
up to speed on that first.
Third division winner would still be home, I think.
Yeah, that's what
I
I
think
thought.
the
Right?
division
So
winners
yeah,
would
but
be
started
home.
talking to him. I mean, wild card's still gonna be tough. I think in the AL, right? The East is still the beast of the East.
Yeah, it's
You
gonna be
could get it.
tough.
You could potentially get one in the West, but likely you probably got to. If you're looking at Angels, you got to sort of be thinking division.
I don't know though, because they have some teams that they could beat up on within the division potentially,
Yeah,
right?
could be. I mean, they could take the last wild card, I guess, from within it. Maybe if the East knocks each other off a lot,
And they got the
maybe keeps it
manager.
down.
They got Joe Madden.
True.
Okay, so it does look like Fletcher is going to end up being on short, and they're going to keep Thor right in the rotation from day one. So I guess he's any of those health concerns were allayed
Yeah.
from.
I mean, it's fine at the very end.
Yeah,
And he was
from
sort
the
of
end
they
of the year.
kind of were holding him back a little bit, so they somewhat babied him. He should be ready to go. In fairness, but he may just the question would be like the number of innings you can tack on first year back.
It's a question.
Right? But you
It's
know,
definitely a question.
take him out there and let him throw gas for 5 or 6 innings. That's
We're
certainly doable.
so far they're 7-4, which is the tied for second best in the Cactus League, and they have a plus 22 run differential, which is second in the Cactus League to Texas, believe it or not. So
There you go.
they're off to a good spring start, which doesn't mean anything, but except when it does.
Yeah. I mean, you could see with players with questions coming off last season coming in. You do like to see them get off to a good start.
But let's look, for example, at like just for comparison's sake, like you said, the American League East, but the National League East, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Nationals look like they might be also Rans this year, but everybody else in the division is potentially
Tough.
very, very tough. So
Yep.
that means the winner of that division, because there's so much attrition within the division, it's harder to win. It's harder to move out of that 90 win realm and into that 95, 98 win realm. It's just harder. There's so many more difficult games. Plus, a lot of the September games plan to be, or on paper, more competitive. Like where you're not playing these also rans who have just thrown in the towel. There's going to be more teams in contention.
Yep.
And if there's more better teams, you're really trying to jockey to win divisions now. So that's why you could see, a team from the AL West, maybe like the Astros did last year. They nosed ahead right at the end, and maybe because they just didn't have as much attrition as the other teams, that gave them a little extra juice to make a run. Or maybe it was just because the American League wasn't so hot last year and they had the most experience and the good.
It's interesting. Looking on Pacoda, there's only 3 teams over 92 wins.
And
that they have projected. They are the Dodgers 102, the Yankees 98.7. It's almost a 90.7 there, and Milwaukee, your boys, Milwaukee at 93. So there's like 4 or 5 others 91, including the Mets, Braves, Padres, White Sox, and Toronto. So that sort of seems like the sort of peak typically for Pacoda. It seems like
a
lot there.
Toronto is the the trendy team. The Blue Jays are the trendy pick, and Mad Dog Russo says it all the time. Be careful of the trendy pick. The trendy team. Like that's why he was before the football season. Everybody was all over the Browns, so he went anti-Browns, and look what happened. Right? They were such a trendy pick, and the Blue Jays are a trendy pick.
Yep.
But again, they're like, look what they have to beat in the AL East. And as much as this pains me, dog, the team in the AL East that's being ignored, of course, is the Red Sox. right? Like they are just I suppose that they are value. Um,
Well, how about this little wrinkle on here with the whole COVID overhang of unvaccinated players can't go and play in Toronto. So now I don't know. Like for my Red Seas, that was a big deal. All of a sudden, Degrom like wasn't going to be pitching until all of a sudden, and Erica, Mayor Adams, got the check, and all of a sudden, all of a sudden we can start throwing the goat out there again. I don't know for the rest of the AL East. I might know the Yankees are highly vaccinated. I'm going to guess most of their teams are, but there could be some real wrinkles there. That
well, so
I'm assuming their guys are. That could be a real home field advantage all of a sudden. It's like, oh, by the way, a couple of aces can't pitch in Toronto all of a sudden when you go to show up there.
yeah, well, I mean, for the Yankees, right? That the sort of known guys or the guys that are believed to be not vaccinated are Judge and Rizzo among their
Yeah,
mainstays. And look, I mean, if they can't play in Toronto,
that's it's a significant that's a
so
significant advantage for Toronto.
yeah, but they have to take advantage of it, right?
True. Yep. Yep.
So we'll see how that pans out. I mean, I don't know really if there are guys from other teams. Like if there are, I just really haven't heard about it. But
We'll
you know,
start to.
it hasn't been something that I was too interested in. I figured it was going to come down in New York. It's listen. I mean, it's not an issue that you and I won't take on. We seem to take on every one of them. So
Yeah.
um, it just got to the point of ridiculousness, and
Yeah.
sports was the thing that eventually, let's face it, sports was the thing that got it changed
Yeah.
because the general public saw Kyrie Irving at a Brooklyn Nets game when, he's their second best player to Kevin Durant, and he's one of the best players in the league. And he's allowed to go to the game, he's allowed to sit on the bench, and he's not allowed to play.
Yeah.
Like it
He can be
didn't make
close
any
to all the. He can be close to the other 20,000 people there.
right. And visiting players could come in and are allowed to play, but he can't.
Yeah.
Why? Didn't make any sense
The
at all.
last gift from De Blasio on the way out the door. Thanks, Bill.
Yeah. And
So,
okay, so and then Adams reversed it, and he was saying that he was going to wait, and it's not going to be, based on sports or whatever. And then he did it for team guys, and women and like performers or whatever.
yeah.
It
Well,
basically
I'll
covers
be honest.
everybody.
We had some of that for us at work. We were getting ready to go back to work in December, and we were going to do I don't know, maybe it was like skip seating. Like there was some restrictions around, but it was like, we all had to be vaccinated and stuff like that. And like they put in the crazy mandate, and like we would have had to have been sitting there on like a trading room. It's like a big room, right? Not like we're all packed into like a small little room or something like that. And even if we were all vaccinated, right, all within that, because we were theoretically a government employee, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so we're sitting in there, and we would have to go in there and sit inside all day wearing a mask, even though we're all vaccinated around each other, just because this mandate went down. So we're like, that literally makes no sense for us to commute in. Can't get together in a conference room, wearing a mask, right? And I'm trying to have conversations on Teams and Zoom with a mask on that I commuted 3 hours to go do versus sitting in my house doing the same thing. so it wound up being a gigantic like economic disaster for the city because there's a whole bunch of companies just in the same sort of situation that we would have come in, we would have been buying lunches at delis, we would have been trying to help people out, and instead, and you basically forced us to not do business in the city. So it was a good move to see that finally unwound. But it's crazy that this city lost 4 months of the economy getting knocked down
Right.
for someone being for just do political nonsense.
Nonsense is the word. Like it when stuff just literally doesn't make sense. And you know what it is too? It the problem I think is it's such an emotional thing,
Yeah,
and people can't help but get their emotions tied to what they believe to be their version of the facts or the story. And
Yeah.
when you take the emotion out of it and you just look at it with common sense, you'd see that so many of these, just the way that they were conducted and the way they were put forth and the communication behind it just made no sense.
Yeah.
Like it
That's
just,
what happens when politicians say something must be done. it's,
yeah.
it's you get nonsensical things that get done because something can be done to say that we did something, whether or not it actually makes sense or helps you achieve your ultimate goal.
We need more project managers in the government. Like actual capable ones who could sit
Yeah,
down and have a
exactly. Yeah,
conversation and
there's
say,
plenty of them.
why are we doing this? No, I mean, I should say good ones, not
Yes,
the ones
exactly.
that think they are.
So
Why are we doing this? Is this good? Do we need to do this? No, no? Okay. But
yeah,
what do we need to do to change it? Good. Okay. So let's get a consensus and let's go and let's change this
there you go.
for the real actual good of the people.
There we go.
Whatever.
But at least Jacob DeGrom can go out there, start City Field, Jackie Robinson Day, and we can see Tom Terrific statue get unveiled. I was talking to a guy today. He's got tickets for the game and stuff. I'm like, oh, like that's gonna be special. It's like it's the first game he's taking his 6-year-old son to. First game the kid's ever gone to.
Wow.
6-year-old son. So he'll be there for 3 innings. But regardless,
Depends on the kid.
What a story. Right?
Depends on the kid. You and I at
does
6.
depend on the kid.
You and I at 6 are staying the whole game. Not even a problem.
I rarely would, but all right.
Me at 6, not only am I staying the whole game, I'm complaining when we're leaving during the 8th inning.
That's because you're a diehard.
I know.
There you go. That would be pretty sweet.
Mike Serra joins the
Saber
chat. Mike Serra joins the chat, except for his good friend, of course. That's.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
I'll
We
leave
need to
that
get the
one there.
SlapGate. We've totally ripped up the
Yeah.
script as usual.
I know. No, we will get to SlapGate. It goes right into SlapGate, actually.
Okay.
Because we were talking about Southern California,
True.
and we were talking
Nice.
about, the sort of lack of drama going on around the Angels, and it always is more around the Dodgers, who are the flagship team of forget about probably the National League at this point, right? But Southern California is certainly that in that area. You have the Dodgers, and then you have the Angels and the Padres are always looking around for table scraps. But the drama in Southern California from the Oscars, where Will Smith can't take a joke except that he could.
For a while.
And then he could for a moment, and then he decided that he
Looked
couldn't.
over his wife and decided he couldn't anymore. So that look.
Allah.
Yeah.
There's
Veteran husbands know exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah. But listen, so I don't usually get into the Facebook thread commenting much anymore. I come on there for diehards, and I go on like I have my little spats here and there where I jump on, and I just like to catch up with people and look at pictures of their kids and them, and people having fun and a good time and who's doing what. I'm not on it, that much, and of course doing the diehard stuff. That's really why I'm kind of doing more of the Facebook stuff these days. But I just couldn't help but. Like, I don't give a rat's ass about Hollywood. Like, I didn't even watch the Oscars at all. I didn't even know they were going on. I was just more interested in the Minnesota Wild game to see who was going to score the last goal. Or hope that there wasn't one, if you get what I mean. And I didn't even know what was going on, but there's so much fun. I'm just questioning myself. I'm like, why are people just so... Like, there's a fucking war going on in Ukraine, and it's like it just disappeared. Like, you know how the war made COVID disappear? And now Will Smith slapping Chris Rock just made the war disappear?
Yeah.
Like,
Certainly on the hits and impressions and all that.
So why are we drawn to that? So I was thinking about it, and so there were some good threads. So our two Fordham Brethren Murphy threads, Jessica Murphy and Janice Murphy, not related. and they each had posts about it, and I got into their threads because I don't know. I just felt like doing it. I felt like mixing it up a little bit.
Okay.
And you know,
Janice,
was,
big fan of the show, by the way.
I know, and we
Always
thank
on there for
Janice
us.
for her support. And so I'm just looking at these threads are pretty representative in a nutshell of most of the stuff that you're seeing on social media or other media about what happened. You know, the first thing is it a, you know, in pro wrestling language, is it a shoot or is it a shoot or is it a work? You know, a work means it was, you know, there was, so when people say staged, right, that doesn't mean that every piece of it had to be perfectly choreographed. It just means that more than one person had to, well, at least two had to be in the know. Like that's something that if an opportunity perhaps presented itself, that something like this could happen. And I keep looking at the slap and I'm like, I'm still not convinced. Like maybe Chris Rock himself could tell me, but like I've seen a lot of people get hit. I've watched a million fights. Like, and I've seen street fights and I've seen MMA fights from, you know, sitting at cage side, like where blood got on my notes, like that close. And in the gyms and stuff, sparring, like I've seen a lot. And I just, like, Chris Rock must be a really tough guy because he took that smack and like his eyes weren't watering and he composed himself and his hands were behind his back and his head was leaning forward and he was just kind of inviting Will Smith to do it and he didn't even put up his arms. Like, so, and
which would be a natural reaction unless you're forcing that down, right? Which sort of leads it to believe it's here. Like, you know, if you're insulting a guy's wife and he's like yelling at you and the guy comes up on stage,
right.
You can't really be like, well, how was your night going, good sir? I mean, it's not the guy just turn around and whack you on the subway, right? You kind of know something might be, you know, the antenna's up a little. You're on a yellow alert, right? You're totally blindsided on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that. So let's say it is real, right? Which most people think it is. There's just a subculture of us that think it's.
I would say it's 50. The stuff I've seen feels like more like 50-50. But again, maybe that's the subset that we're in. But
so he's standing there with his arms behind his back, his head is leaning forward. The guy who's smacking him literally won the best actor. So if anybody could pull it off, it's like he's literally the best actor. So if you could make somebody believe it, like, wouldn't it be the best actor that could do it?
Oh, you played Ali?
He did.
I'd say, which was another thing, I didn't put him on the ground.
Now here's another thing. Here's another thing to feed the it's fake conspiracy theory. It's the Oscars, right? So all they have is friggin' cameras everywhere. So you mean there's not one alternate angle of like stage left or stage right where you could see if a smack like actually hit his face? That would be pretty definitive, right? Like you'd be able to see it from there.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to give you an assumption. I'm going to give you an assumption he made contact. Like he now he may not try to floor the guy. I'm going to say probably, even if you're faking, you probably hit him. Right.
Okay.
And that's why it's sort of, you know, Brock sort of leans into it, like gets ready to receive the blow and receives it. Right. But so I don't think they're that good. That would be so, especially like you have Chris Rock on the other side, right? I'm like, he's not a stunt guy. Like the timing of that would be too hard to me.
Dude never touches his face after he gets slapped. Slapped. Bitch slapped is what they always called that, right? True. Like that's I'm Rick James, bitch. Like that's it.
That's pretty much it, yeah.
And that's, you know.
Will does have a history of slapping too.
So you got just the reaction doesn't make sense, and the fact that there's not one. It's the Oscars, for God's sake. There's not one other angle, not one that has come out, not one. A cell phone from the third row all the way on the left or on the right. Nobody. Come on. Really?
Yeah,
I don't know. Unless
fair.
they take people's. You think they take their cell phones? No, because the famous thing from a few years ago was the big selfie, right? That they did.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're taking people's cell phones away. And so the case against it is what motive? There's really not much of a motive for Will Smith and or Chris Rock.
His Chris Rock's comedy show like sold out like instantly.
Yeah, okay, so maybe there's that.
And Will's been maybe I don't know. I mean, he just won the Oscar, right? But I mean, his career isn't like it's not like his career is like peaked or whatever, right? So maybe it's I don't know. I could see it more from Rock doing it perspective. I'm not sure it's a smart move. If I was Will Smith's publicist, I'm not sure I would say it's worth the risk to his reputation to go through it. So maybe that's an argument against, right? I mean,
yeah,
it's a ballsy move on him. He's not like a nobody who's going to do it and now make a name. Like he does have a name. He has a pretty good reputation, right? People tend generally like Will Smith and stuff, and are favorably disposed towards him. Are you really going to risk it? Of like some people are going to like this, and some people are going to be horrified by it.
Right. So that's
talked about, but I'm not sure that's
clearly the argument for it was real.
Yeah.
And that he got his wires crossed or whatever. Yeah. But it's just there's so much of it that's just suspect. He laughs at the joke first, and then she laughs at the joke sort of as it's coming out, and then she's embarrassed by it, which is fair. I mean, listen, alopecia, if you know or have known anybody that's suffered from it, and I have, a male and a female, by the way, it's not something that, I would joke about with them if I knew, but I think it's pretty clear that Chris Rock didn't know that she had that. But I think it's also clear that Jada Pinkett Smith thought everybody in the world knew, right? Because later you find out that she's talked about it and she's been open about it and whatever. But like, it's not my business or Chris Rock's business to know what her deal is.
I don't know. I mean, I kind of get it if like you or I don't know it. In the bitchy little community that's Hollywood, I would kind of think Chris Rock would probably know that. Especially if he's going down that road.
He didn't know.
No, he said he didn't, right? But who knows, right? Who knows, right? I'm sure he also said he had no idea the slap was coming, even though we just went like said. That seems a little odd. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't take that one for 100%. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt that maybe he didn't know.
I'm pretty sure he didn't know.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure he didn't know.
I've done absolutely zero research on the entire thing too, by the way.
It's exactly how much.
I didn't watch a stupid thing.
It's exactly how much research we should have done on a subject like this.
I saw the tweets on it. I'm like, I haven't watched the Oscars, and it's like, I don't know.
Okay.
Sally Field. But
so now let's get to the part if it's real.
Okay.
Okay. So now we're assuming that it is real. Will Smith is the biggest wuss ever. Period. That is such a coward move to do that. You get up and you slap a comedian because you think that like comedians can, what's off limits, right? Like not much. But like you're off limits, but like all the other stuff's not. So you think if Amy Schumer made the same joke that Will Smith would have got up and smacked her, his ass would have been in the seat. You think if it was The Rock instead of Chris Rock that he would have got up and smacked The Rock? No, he would have been glued to his seat. You think if Jason Momoa was the presenter there that he would have got up and gotten, he would have gotten that thing blocked and he would have gotten his face kicked in. So he saw a soft target, and that's why he did it.
Well, the best shot is a cheap shot, right?
No, I mean he saw a soft target. If there's a handful of people that probably qualified that he would have gotten up and done that. Like, what if it was Ricky Gervais? That's a good
I think he would have done
because
it.
he did the Golden Globe. I don't know if you think he would have done it.
I think he would have.
And then what do you
I'll
think
give him
Ricky
that.
Gervais would have done? He probably just would have
Probably
doubled
would have
down.
crumbled.
No, he probably would have doubled. He probably would have doubled down and just kept making fun of her, or he would have done,
Yeah.
like
I don't know. The whole thing is weird to me, honestly. In that, I mean, the one thing I will say is that ordinarily I would be, I don't know. Do I even want to wade into this? Normally I would say like wives should be off limits, right? And like spouses should be off limits. To me, that sort of feels like in the community scene. Now she's a she's a celebrity in her own right? So that kind
public
of
figure. Public
takes
figure.
that backs it off a little bit, right? So like
A
if
lot.
it was just
That totally backs it off.
yeah, and sort of. And again, now you're making the assumption that he didn't know about the disease or something like that. I don't know. I mean, none of it adds up to me. None of it makes any sort of sense to me on what this was and stuff. I mean, part of me says, you know what, got me in front of your wife and you stand up for her. I don't know, right? I mean, there's some element of that, right? And that's is that right? Is that wrong anymore? Who the hell knows? Right.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Hollywood, of course, it's horrifying. But Hollywood at first is cheering for it, and all of a sudden they're like, they check the woke meter again. And all of a sudden now they're horrified by it again. So let's get that. The whole industry is such a fake, phony show that who knows? It's like one phony smacking another phony. I'm like, who knows? The only guy I like in the whole situation is Chris Rock. Sorry, he's the guy who got hit. So I'm just like, actually, I don't mind Will Smith. I have no view on Jada Pinkett. She seems like a fine person. Like, whatever. Then you get the whole open marriage thing going on. You got Uncle Paul talking about open marriages in our comments here. This is right where it's gone, right?
This is it. Yeah.
This really is. I guess this is what we're talking about, right? If you got Uncle Paul talking about open marriages in our Facebook tweet, you know what? Maybe that's another reason why it was staged, right? Because what the hell else is Uncle Paul gonna be talking about? Will and Jada's open marriage? There was some great. I will have to say, though I didn't watch the show, and I barely watched some of the tweets and stuff. Some of the memes off it were pretty strong.
Oh yeah.
That's actually why I found out. I saw that, then I'm like, what are they talking about? And I saw that. So, well, I said we talked about the Oscars. That's the second lowest rated Oscars. You know what? The next Oscars, maybe somebody will actually watch.
Maybe not.
Or maybe not.
Yeah.
Not me. But
Will Smith and Chris Rock presenting together. Just brawl. Would have been better if they just brawled. Like somebody should have just tripped Will Smith on the way back. Just tripped him. Just like
throw a chair.
Yeah, why not? Hit him over the head.
Like at least back in the day, like someone would have thrown some bread rolls, right? Like drinks them and thrown. Yeah. I think that's what they need back. They need to go back to the Oscar dinners where they're all getting hammered and stuff.
Oh yeah,
that's probably what you actually really need. Get rid of all the extra riffraff, put the tables down there, the food and whatever. Let them start throwing stuff around, and have a great time.
We might have to remake the opening of the show. Opening day and open marriages. Diamond Diehards is on.
What have we done?
Oh boy! Now we've done.
Who have we done? Oh my!
I don't know. That livened up the chat. We'll say that. That's definitely. So we have there's. Well, I don't know. There's. You mentioned Uncle Paul, like Sarah.
There's more material. There we go. Yeah, I just made that up. Paul Newman slapping Don Rickles.
I mean, that would have been classic if it actually happened.
Oh, that would be great. Little
Don Rickles,
little tough face.
Oh yeah, and Uncle Paul says Chris Rock was surprised as anyone in Uncle Paul's opinion, and he has more material for his jokes now. But see, that's another thing.
It's a total home run for Chris Rock.
Apparently, he has had a good time with Will Smith, Jada Pinkett stuff in his material. But here's the other thing,
which again gets to like the whole like he didn't know about the disease thing seems a little far fetched.
I don't know. I mean, it seems like something that's kind of new. Like I can't say that I like keep up crazy on it, but I feel like something like that I probably would have known or heard about or whatever. So I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that you could follow these
I
days.
don't know. She has no hair. Why does she have no hair? I mean, really, that's sort of like a 5 second thing you talk to your researcher on.
I heard she read for G.I. Jane too. Maybe that's I don't know. She's an actress. She could have no hair for any reason. She could be in the middle of a shoot, right? Is that far fetched? She could be. She could.
But you would know what that would be, right?
Would you know every project that every actor or actress is working on if you're Chris Rock?
If you have a running gag going involved with it, again, this is like it's such a small little industry, right?
But he's more of a comedian, and he's a
well,
comedian who acts. He's not an actor who's also a comedian. So I doubt that he's running as much.
He's a famous black celebrity. Talking about another two famous black celebrities. I don't know, dude. I mean, that's not that far fetched to say that he would be. He has no idea about this person that he's spending, I don't know, 10% of his bit.
No, I think it was a throwaway line at that point about the G.I. Jane thing. I mean, I don't think that. I think that one just popped in, and
yeah,
you know,
I'd have to see the whole lead in and whatever else.
I think he was surprised by the crowd reaction. That people are like, whoa, is that a
which
little
again
out of
sort of
bounds?
says like everyone else.
It's like, what? That was good, or whatever he said.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Which again sort of feels like the rest of them are all in on the inside joke, right? That feels like an inside Hollywood joke. Like none of us back home have any clue about the whole deal. I don't know. Whatever.
Point being, the shows like baseball shows are talking about it now. Uncle Paul said Chris Rock just opened up his tour. His tickets went up from $46 to $400. So that's good for Uncle Paul. I know he probably bought a bunch of tickets to Chris Rock at $46 a piece, and now we can sell them for $400.
Flipping them.
Yeah, you can, and then keep two, and then just go, basically go for free with a little extra green in his pocket.
A little cheddar.
Yeah, a little
Good job
cheddar.
there. Good job there, UP.
Little cheddar never hurt no one. Okay, so we did our little piece about that. But yeah, I just look. Come on, man. Just you either take the joke. Most jokes have a butt of the joke, and on a rare occasion, you are the butt of the joke, and almost every other occasion, you're not. So just take it. I've been at a comedy club. You've literally seen a comedian take aim at me, and me sit there.
That is true.
You have. You've witnessed. You witnessed it.
I have.
You witnessed it. And thank God he didn't take.
Bring your shots in there.
I know. Thank God he didn't take as much good aim on me as he did at the other people in my family.
Like couple marks were left.
Yeah, there were. But that's the whole sport of it. Listen. Sometimes you're the butt of the joke, but almost all the other times you're not. So when you're not, that's a ridiculous way to react. It's ridiculous. Like, have a little self-awareness.
If you were gonna do it, like walking out would have been one thing.
Yeah.
Like if you walked out with Jada, right? That's another way to protest it. And I think people generally would have had his back on it.
Yeah, if he went up to him behind,
so he could have done that
backstage, and he had a spat, and he's like, "Dude, what?
Yeah,
the fuck
why
are you making fun of my
say,
wife?
Hey, that was just unacceptable. I don't know if Chris knew it, but we simply couldn't be there. Blah blah blah. It was beyond the bounds of good taste.
Or just confront him after and be like, dude, what the hell are you talking about? Like, what are you gonna make fun of next? Like cancer patients? Like, come on, have a little something. And then, this guy's getting.
And then he had to like come back, right? Like, it wasn't like the other weird, like, so he wound up getting the Oscar, right?
Yeah, he won the Oscar.
So it wasn't like he left.
This teary speech that's I think Biden made some more coherent speeches lately than that one. And the Academy is just like enabling all this.
Oh yeah.
And
it's the whole contrived whatever, right? The whole industry.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
The whole morals police. There's no worse spot on the planet in terms of morals and ethics than the preachers on the left coast in Hollywood, right? I mean, so whatever.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar wrote a missive about this and all the damage and what it represents and like how first of all, which is an angle that I didn't really think
by
of.
the way, from the business perspective, the only people like shadier accounting than tanker companies is Hollywood. Hollywood is flat out securities fraud. That's what they do on those movies. I mean, there's no other word for it. It's just but anyway, that's my own separate issue.
Yeah, different show.
Different show. Sorry.
Maybe we'll do a second show this week with all the material.
Good lad.
But listen, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar wrote a missive about this, and it's a couple of angles that I didn't really necessarily think about or think all the way through. Like everything.
He's a great writer, by the way. He is a great commentator. He rarely comes in, but when he does, he's always got something good.
Yeah, and listen, I don't agree with all his political views or anything like that, and I don't agree with every single word the guy says, but he's really has a good way of putting it together. And what he mentioned are things like how, he's protecting his woman. Why? Because she can't protect herself from a joke. And I don't want to just go read it. You can just do Kareem Abdul-Jabbar on Will Smith, and read that. It's it's not going to take you an hour. It's a 2-minute read, but and just like what it means to see a black man resort to violence on an international stage, nonetheless against another black man for for what? Because you can't take a joke. There's in a lot of ways from the social constructs, it's damaging. It's damaging. It is not a good look. To me, the part about it that's the worst part is, and again, we're assuming now that it's not, a work, that it actually is a real thing and it was real emotions and none of it was scripted and nobody knew what was going on. The worst thing about it to me is that he picked a soft target. That's the worst thing, because that just goes to show you that to me is the makeup of the character of, the abuser in this case. It's abusive type behavior because, simply put, he's not going to do it if it's almost, a myriad other people, but, somebody who fits the Chris Rock role more, diminutive, another man. He's not going to get up there necessarily, and he wouldn't have done it to a woman, and he wouldn't have done it to a bigger man, and he may not have done it to a white guy, but he picked, he saw a chance to pick that target, and that's what made him quote unquote brave. It's not brave. It's cowardice. What he did, cowardice. I don't care. The guy has the guy has so much money that he could buy and sell me 1,000 times and not worry about it. Doesn't care. I don't care. That doesn't excuse what he did. He's a loser, and he could take his Oscar and be all proud of it. But he ruined a great moment for himself and for a lot of other people who were really rooting for him by doing that. Again, if it's real. On to lighter side. Lighter things.
You know why? Because he got the Oscar for playing Arrogant Monarch.
Yeah. Richard Williams.
Little Sarah 24.
What's the line on the rematch from Mike Sarah?
What's the pagoda?
Yeah. Uncle Paul thinks that's not a bad idea, a rematch. Ain't gonna be no rematch. Chris Rock doesn't need the rematch. He already won.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Uncle Paul said Chris Rock is a Mets fan. That's why he got smacked. Not this year. Not this year.
That's so true.
No. This year, if Chris Rock
we just figured we had the slap coming.
he's gonna get one. If you're a Met fan this year and you're trying that stuff, you're gonna get buzzed. You're gonna get one high and tight right under the chin, like the old days.
Oh man.
Um, all right. So should we do Die Hard Dads or should we just wrap it up?
We should probably end on something something more positive and constructive for society. And Russia's losing. That's good. There we go.
Oh man, don't get Doug started on that. That might have to be another
we
show.
got a whole other thread just for that one.
Yeah, we do. All right, let's move it on and wrap it up with Die Hard Dads. I'm much more on point with the music today. A little bit better prepared than some previous times, thankfully, as we fly without our producer Xavier. Although I think he is monitoring tonight.
Very nice. Actually, do I have anything for tonight?
So Die Hard Dads. So
I think one here.
Luisa Rizzo has now started the softball season. And she's doing a little work on the side to try to improve things. So we went to a field on Sunday because she didn't have anything going on Sunday. And we met our pal Bridget, former shortstop at DePaul University, and still well involved in the game, and a big fan of Diamond Diehards as well, and a huge Yankee fan. And it was good. So Lou and Bridget was working Lou through a lot of stuff, checking out the swing, trying to help her out, working on a lot of fielding stuff. It was like 2.5 hours. The interesting thing was there were snow squalls. So I felt
it was a rough weekend.
That was some pretty good dedication to get out there in the snow, and we just kept going. And I had the glove, and I was so Lou was doing she was practicing like some outfield drills and like sharpening up there. So like Bridget was hitting him, and I was playing like either the first base or the kind of shortstop position. And gotta say, dog, at a couple of mishits, I got the piano off my back and made a couple of shoestringers there and lived to tell about it. Right to the steam shower as soon as I got home, though. Right into the steam. 20 minutes steam. Had to do it, but responded the next day. And the supplements and the steam shower, followed by the cold water at the end, seems to be working for this guy into the 50s. Push-ups in the steam shower, those help too. So I think that's my Die Hard Dads. More softball stories, hopefully, to come.
There we go. Very cool. Let's see. I was going to do Michael Baseball, but maybe I'll keep going with the whole weather thing. So we had the scouts out this weekend. So Keegan's the scout, the senior patrol leader of our Boy Scout troop. So we had a bunch of us going out. Sort of the first big outing of the year for the spring. So we were up by the Appalachian Trail up in sort of northwest Jersey, up there, and we were hiking along. So we did about 4 miles, about sort of average on track, but we were kind of doing more backpacking than sort of camping. So it's, packing everything up and packing up your tent and everything, and hauling away. So we did that for kind of one of the first times doing that. And as we were out there, probably around the same time that you were out there doing the fielding practice, we were hiking along and getting hailed on as we were walking along, which I believe is the first for our troop as well. Just going out there and flat out getting hailed on when we were walking along in the woods. But we were able to suck it up and get it back. So we did about 4 miles on the Appy Trail, which was pretty good.
Wow.
For our guys. Came back generally in one piece, including the dog, which is good to hear. And then came back and actually basically helped rebuild a deck for like all the decking on the deck for a bunch of monks up at St. Benedict's up in that area. Like a 16 by 24 deck. So this was like a no joke deck that we were all jumping on there. And guys were all got all that banged out and pretty much did almost all of it in a day. So that was pretty awesome. So that was good. Good job by Key getting the guys motivated and getting us all out there. I will say, the diehard dad came home on Sunday. Actually, we do a little bit more work on the deck on Sunday, and then the diehard dad came back and found some of these lovely IPAs in the refrigerator.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what that was.
These are Farm Island Brewing. I don't know who they are, but you know why this tastes fantastic? Because it's actually Ryan's beer. So I'm actually drinking Ryan's beer, who's my oldest. And let me tell you, nothing tastes better than your son's beer. So you have that to look forward to. My little punchline there for diehard dads. There's nothing finer than drinking your son's beers. And yeah, 6 beers later, I had no pain. That Monday was a little different story. The thighs were barking, but the IPAs took care of the muscles on Sunday. So.
All right. Wow, we spun it there at the end. Positive stuff.
There you go.
All right. If you want to follow the dog on Twitter, it's at Jeff Healy 8. That's the number 8. If you want to follow me, Joe Rizzo, it's at Diamond Diehards, and we are at Diamond Diehards everywhere on social media. If you'd like to do some business, we have a LinkedIn page. You can check us out there at Diamond Diehards on LinkedIn. Facebook group, which is hopefully many of you have joined. And if you haven't, go join us over there. And when we do these live streams, they're pretty much at this point right now for the last year or so, I think our live streams have been exclusively to the Facebook group. So you get a little bonus there where you could join in and interact in the comments. And as we build things up a little bit more, maybe we'll take it back to some other platforms as we used to do, but we'll take those things as they come. And we appreciate your interaction and all your support at this time and in the future. Don't forget to check us out on YouTube. Subscribe over there and bash that alerts button or whatever you're supposed to do with it. And every time we post the shows to YouTube, you will get that alert as well. And if you are an audiophile, it is Apple Podcasts for you, or Spotify, or whatever app you like to listen to your podcasts on. You can find Diamond Diehards there. If you can't, send us a note and we will get on there. And we are even on TalkShoe, which has made some improvements to the back end here, and they have been our partner since day one. Also partnering, fmsgraphics.com for all your printing and promotional needs. Big Ed's Car Wash in Fair Lawn, New Jersey, right on the border of Bergen and Passaic counties. If you need your vehicle clean, that's where you go. Go to Big Ed. Tell him Diamond Diehards sent you. A Tuesday Night Live in the books. For the dog, Jeff Healy. This is Joe Rizzo. Diamond Diehards is out.